right, everybody. Welcome back to the third episode of the St. Oswald Radio. Thank you guys for listening. It's 7:05 p.m. I'm a little late today. Had some technical difficulties with some stuff, but we're here live from College Park, Maryland. It's a big day in the NBA. The NBA is heating up. I've said that every week, but it's actually heating up now. You can actually see preseason just started last week. Not much to take from it. I don't value preseason all that much. But everything that I had planned today got completely overshadowed by an announcement that's coming up tomorrow. And I'm going to get to that. But for people who've just tapped in, started listening, make sure you guys subscribe and follow so you guys can hear more. And we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff today. We're obviously going to talk about the LeBron retirement. That's where we're starting. But Cooper FLAGG debuts today with preseason, so some things to check out there. We're watching him play. Some Warriors players had some stuff to say today. I don't always want this to be all Warrior stuff, but there was something very interesting that was said by a few players that I wanted to touch on. And then we're going to do our NBA division outlook. Today we're going to do the Central Division. Not the most exciting, but they're honestly one of the more improved divisions in the league. They were honestly much of a joke for the past, I don't know how many years, but they've actually got a few contenders this year. So what's happening to that? All right, let's cut all the slack. This is what you want to hear about. LeBron announced that tomorrow he has an announcement at 12 p.m. And that announcement is widely assumed to be his retirement. Now, I'll address this first. Do I think this is him announcing his retirement? Obviously. I'm not going to come up here and be like, well, no, he's actually going to promote this and this is all a ruse. Well, if it is, then, I mean, I don't know what other form of attention seeking you would want here. I don't think that's what it is. I think it's him retiring. But before I address that and what that means, my first thought is, well, for someone as big as LeBron, arguably the greatest player in the history of basketball, arguably, if he were to have a retirement tour, wouldn't you think that that would be something that would be announced way before the season started so that the NBA could plan for it in every city that LeBron steps in for his last potential game would be prepared for so they can have things to say, especially like the Garden. If LeBron's last time in the Garden, that is a monumental moment. I don't know if him just retiring that or him announcing his retirement a few weeks before the season, but they have enough time to prepare. Well, obviously you could be like, well, what if this is something that LeBron could have told the league and kept quiet for months? Well, if they're able to keep that under wraps for months, then congrats to them. That's the first thing I'm thinking of. Because when Kobe retired, they were able to, at least in each city that he went to, they were able to properly plan a retirement tour. That's my first question. If LeBron were to announce this retirement and it's confirmed, how would that go about? Because we obviously know if they made it a big deal for Kobe Bryant, for LeBron, it's going to be an even bigger deal. And the last time he steps in, it's not Oracle. I kind of wish it was Oracle, but the last time he steps in Chase Center, I want it to be with him losing the game. Doesn't have as much weight because it's not Oracle. It's not the same. But I rest my case. Now, what does this mean for this season in general? Now, for LeBron to go out with Luka Doncic next to him, it's probably one of the most competitive ways you can go out. I'm not going to keep comparing this to Kobe, but Kobe's Laker team his last year was an absolute joke. They were in no contention of competing for anything. To where LeBron, his team, has a real chance to get out the West and be competitive and honestly make for one of the most compelling final retirement seasons of all time. And this is hit or miss sometimes. There are some misses, obviously, because most guys, when they get LeBron's age, they are not good anymore. That is obvious. And this is going to be some slander, but Vince Carter. When Vince Carter retired, it was like, well, we congratulate you on the great career, but you probably retired like 5 years too late. Let's be honest. LeBron is still a top 15 guy. So to see him potentially go out on top is a good thing to potentially see. I don't want that happening over Steph, though. Just don't beat Steph in your retirement year. I can't take any more of that. I would not be able to. Just beat everyone in the West besides Steph. That's besides the point. I do think the retirement is going to happen tomorrow. And when this does happen, I think this is going to create... And first of all, let me get this out the way. I know there's going to be a section of people that are going to say, well, LeBron announcing his retirement so close to the season is selfish of him, and that's him taking the spotlight away from everyone else when he could have did that months ago. But now he's going to do it now, and he wants to be in the voice of the headlines. I'm not going to come up with that take. Maybe a few years ago I would have said that. That's selfish of you. He wants all the attention, whatever the case may be. Now, it could end up that that is not the case, and I hope he's not promoting some brand or something, because again, if that's the case, then I might have some more to say that, okay, this is attention-seeking one-on-one. But if this has been kept under wraps and they've been planning to unveil this for a while now, then congrats to them, because I don't think anyone saw it coming. I would like to see LeBron for at least 2 more years, preferably. But I think he understands that they are in the Luka Doncic era now, and after a while, his services will not be as needed as they used to be. And that's just the reality of it. Ticket prices are already rising up. People are already buying tickets. So if tomorrow hits and LeBron doesn't retire, that might suck. I'll be honest, that might suck. But look, again, I'm not going to make this a whole LeBron legacy thing of where his legacy will end up and what this can do. Now, if LeBron were to win an NBA championship in his final season, he would be the greatest of all time. He would be the greatest of all time. And I'm not a LeBron hater. I just like guys who are in direct competition with LeBron. So I just have to feel a certain way about it. I'm not a LeBron hater. This ring, though, would hold weight in comparison to the 2016 ring. Because everyone, if you're one of those people, well, a ring's a ring, but a ring's a ring. But then you sit here and you criticize, I don't know, the Raptors for beating the Warriors when none of their team was healthy. Or you say, well, the Warriors ring doesn't count because the Cavs weren't healthy in 2015. Well, if you can't have both. You can't have both. If a ring's going to have weight, it's going to have some weight. We all know that 2016 ring has a lot more weight on compared to, let's say, his 2020 ring, or you get what I'm saying. This ring would be up there if he were to do it. A, because it's his final season. Also, he'd be 40 years old. And again, the Western Conference, I think, is even tougher than it was when he won that first ring in 2020. So this would do a lot. It would. Wouldn't change his finals record. But in addition to being the most complete player in the entire game, he would have 5 rings, 1 less than Jordan, where if everything else is seemingly accolade-wise above Jordan, I think you can make the case for it. That's the most praise I'm giving him. I'll be honest. The most praise I'm giving him. Shout out to him. I think he'll have an excellent final year. And if this is the retirement, I hope everything is done to make sure each game or his final road game for each team is made a big deal, especially in the Garden. That's all I have to say about that. I thought I was pretty positive. There were some things that I thought I was going to say, but I was like, nah, let's relax here. Actually, no. There's one more thing I want to say about this, right? Is there anything else that LeBron could do? Like, I think there are things that could help his legacy. Like, if you think, because there are obviously some people who think, well, LeBron was the GOAT 10 years ago, and all of this is just more icing on the cake. Now, not everyone thinks that way. Some people think, well, he's got to catch Jordan in rings, or He's got to win multiple titles in LA, or there are certain other things that he needs to do. Now, let's say the Lakers make it to the Western Conference Finals. They lose in a hard-fought series. LeBron is okay, and he retires. Is that going to change, or is that going to negatively affect his legacy slightly? Not in terms of, okay, he's lower on the all-time list, but it's like, well, you had a chance to catch this guy, or you had a chance to really make that mark where it's like it's undefinitive. You are the greatest of all time. To where it's like, oh, well, it's still a debate. That's where I'm like, if the Lakers know that this is going to happen, I think you're going to see even more of them trying to manage LeBron in certain games. And it's like, well, how do you balance managing LeBron's minutes and making sure he's preserved for the playoffs while also making sure that he plays in all these road games, because these are the last time fans are going to get to see him. That's the dynamic that I'm kind of interested in, more so than the legacy part. Like, you can think what you want, but how are they going to manage that? Because you can't have LeBron load managing if LeBron goes to Charlotte and these are fans' last time going to see him play, and these ticket prices are expensive. He's going to have to play. He's going to have to play damn near every game. So what does that dynamic look like? Because there are going to be people spending a lot of money to see him. But you also can't burn him out, because you need to see him in April and May. That's what I'm interested to see. We'll see how that turns out. We've got to hear the news be confirmed first. But again, shout out to LeBron. And I'll leave it there. Let's move on now to the debut of Cooper FLAGG. What are the expectations? Obviously, this is a preseason game. I don't have much expectations for tonight specifically. But in terms of what this rookie year could look like and what the projection could look like in a few years. Now, I've said on record, that Cooper FLAGG, I think he has potential to be an all-NBA guy, but considering the landing spot that he was drafted to, it might not be the explosion right away. It might not be the Victor 20 and 10. It might not be the Zion 21 and whatever and 25 points in his second year. It might not be that. But I don't think that's the worst thing for him. A lot of number one picks, you obviously know you could draft to a bad team. The organization is not very great. There is not much structure in how the team is built. And they rely on this young guy to save the franchise. Cooper does not have to do that. He has two other all-NBA guys right next to him. And especially AD, who he can learn from, and even former All-NBA guy Klay Thompson. I cannot call you that anymore, Klay. You are far past what you were good at. But he's got some guys to learn from, is the point. And I think that obviously we know, or we obviously don't. Not everyone knows. But there are some things that Cooper needs to work on that I'm looking forward to. Is obviously his ability to create against pressure. When they put a smaller, wiry ball handle on you, can Cooper create his own shot, especially without Kyrie? Because they're going to need him to do that. Because besides D'Angelo Russell, who one of my favorite players too, but besides him, like, they need some creation, and Cooper's going to have to show the ball handling. The three-point shooting is another thing. Are you consistent? I'm not expecting him to be 37% from three this year. I'm not. But you also can't be 30% either. Let's just be league average. And then obviously continue the defense and the finishing stuff that we all expect to be good right away. In this preseason game, just show the strengths. Like, as long as your weaknesses aren't really being exposed too much, which I don't think it will, because there's not going to be that many all-NBA defenders really trying, and if the starters are playing, you're not really going to see those weaknesses right away. What's my projection for Cooper in his rookie year? I mean, I think he's going to be a cool 17 a game, 17, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. He'll probably shoot 46% from the field, 32% from three, and around 80% from the line. Those are like damn near what his splits were at Duke. Again, I'm very interested to see his ball handling at the next level, because if they're going to play him at the 3, he's going to need to handle the ball. If they play him at the 4, which I don't think they're going to do, because, again, Gafford's hurt for the beginning of the year, but if you're going AD and Lively, Cooper's going to have to play the 3. And from what I've been hearing, AD don't want to play center. So it's looking like Coop's going to play the 3. And if you're going to play the 3, you're going to have to be able to hit some outside shots. And we're going to need to see that early on. I've got big hopes for Cooper. Do I think he's the most generational prospect since Zion? Not really. And I haven't said this on record, but if Cooper Flagg was in this upcoming draft class with AJ Devonson, Darren Peterson, and Cam Boozer, I think Cooper would be closer to the 3rd to 4th best prospect than he would be number 1. I don't know if that's a hot take, but let's see. Let's see when the college basketball season if that take is some ludicrous or if it has some real truth to it. That's Cooper Flagg. Now, we're going to move on to something that I wasn't really aware of until, honestly, like a few hours ago. That I don't know what to say yet, or I don't know what to think of it. But we'll get to that when we come back. Draymond Green's quote that we're going to determine if it has much truth to it at all. See you in a second. All right, welcome back. So Draymond Green was in the headlines for something that he said. I don't think the national media really picked it up too much, but he said it in an interview, and as of right now, the source is basketballnetwork.net. But he said, and he was talking about the delicate balance of keeping a championship team together and making sure that the core remains throughout the tough times. But to paraphrase, he said all those little somethings add up to a big something. Now, and then he said, so this is the exact quote. So that's one little something, and he was referring to an incident. Then there's a second little something and a third. And before you know it, all those little things add up to a big something. He also said you see a lot of bands break up. And when you look back on why, it started with something so small. Like maybe one band member used the other band member's hairdresser and it wasn't a big deal, but nobody nipped the bud. Now, if you've watched basketball for the last 10 years, you were aware of Draymond Green's antics. And a lot of times he comes off as very self-aware of the things that he's saying, because he'll say something and you'll be like, yo, Draymond, you literally just did what you said that you shouldn't do. We've seen it. There's video evidence of it. The little things add up to the big things. Now, how could I make this comparison? Now, the little thing, right? And this is emphasis on little thing. When Draymond Green kicked Steven Adams in the nuts in the 2016 Western Conference Finals, at the time, it was considered a huge thing. But when we look at the totality of Draymond's career, that's a little thing. But that's happened again and again and again. And what does that big thing end up being? Draymond's reputation as a dirty player, right? The little things, they add up. But it got to a point where by the time it was 2018, 2019, before I do that, let's even go back more. Let's go back when Draymond Green for everyone that's listening, the radio listeners, if you remember the Steph game against Oklahoma City, where Steph came back into the game and he hit a bunch of crazy threes in that fourth quarter when KD and Russ were still in Oklahoma City. During halftime in that game, Steve Kerr and Draymond Green were in a heated altercation in the locker room, and it damn near got physical. Now, most people, you might not remember that, and that might be considered a small thing. But stuff like that built Draymond's reputation to what it is. These little things built up and built up. And it got to the point where, even if you say it's unfair, these little things led to every time something happened, it was a big thing. Example, the thing with Kevin Durant and Draymond Green, we all remember, against the Clippers. And everyone says that's the mark that ended the dynasty. That's the moment that the dynasty completely ended. Sure, you could say that. And it went from, honestly, a surprising thing where Draymond, he'll do some questionable things on the court, but it usually has nothing to do with with the basketball. He's usually pretty smart with the basketball. But the funny part here is he did both. Draymond made an idiotic basketball decision, and then he followed that up with an idiotic actual decision that had real consequences, where you turn the ball over when you should have given Kevin Durant the basketball at the end of the game, and then you sit there and you call him, you know what? I ain't trying to curse. You call him, you know what? And we don't need you. And we won before you. And we'll win after you. Was he wrong? No, because, side note, Kevin Durant has won 0 championships before he left Steph Curry and after he joined Steph Curry. Oh, no, excuse me. Let me make sure I'm right here. Kevin Durant has won 0 rings before he joined Steph Curry and 0 rings after he played with Steph Curry. Steph Curry has won a championship before Kevin Durant and after Kevin Durant. Anyways, but back to my point. Draymond made a decision that ultimately was a domino effect. The most recent incident that we all know about, when he socked Jordan Poole in the face. And I mean, that was probably the most extreme example of these little things building a reputation. And it gets to the point now where every little thing matters. They got you under a microscope, Draymond. You can't make a mistake. And that's self-inflicted. You caused that. Right? It's good that you're becoming self-aware years after all these incidents have happened, but it's good to see that. And that is something that, well, if Draymond doesn't make these mistakes, does this dynasty last longer? Sure, you could say that. Sure. But it's evident that the longer this has gone on, the more Draymond Green, or the more valuable Draymond has become. Because we've seen guys come and go. We've seen Clay leave now. We've seen KD leave now. But the constant that makes the Steph offense and this thing run is Draymond Green's playmaking and defense and toughness. And it's showing by the day, even if we're not as successful, we understand how this engine runs. These are the 3 most important pieces. People who even hate Steve Kerr have to realize within this Warriors dynasty, the 3 most important people, regardless of player, coach, GM, whatever. The 3 most important people you could argue is number 1, Stephen Curry. Number 2, Steve Kerr. And number 3, I think, is either Bob Myers or Draymond Green. Not Klay Thompson, not Kevin Durant. Sure as hell not Mike Dunleavy. He wasn't even there. But those were the 3 most important guys. Because with Steve Kerr, everything with his offense revolutionized once he got there. With Steph, obviously we know. But without Draymond, who's going to be your Draymond replacement? The Warriors found a semi Klay Thompson replacement in a few months in Buddy Hield. Where are you finding the Draymond replacement? Well, you could be, you can get any role. You can get any type of PJ Tucker type of guy and plug him in there. Does he have the playmaking that Draymond has? Does he have the chemistry with Steph that Draymond has? No, he does not. So I challenge anyone to, you could plug anyone in for Draymond and they'll put up the same stats, his triple single. And if that's still the argument you're having in 2025 with Draymond's value to the team with counting stats, then I won't discuss basketball there with you because you clearly have not seen it. So Draymond's a head case. Moral of the story, he's a head case, but sometimes certain head cases are important for keeping some things together. You need that type of guy. You do. If Steph was this alpha personality, then maybe some things would have clashed earlier on. But I think they work, and it's always worked. It's been those three the entire time. Next up, this is something that I was like, what? When I read it, I was like, bro, what is going on here? So, there's an NBA player, and if y'all know who this is, cool. I mean, I know who he is. He's on the team, but his name is Pat Spencer, and he had a quote that I found to be very, very interesting. And it was like, well, why is he talking about this? It's a fair point. But what he said, I think, brought up a bigger point that I really want to touch on. So I want to get the exact quote right of what he said. So he said, his name is Pat Spencer. If you look up Pat Spencer, his stats are not going to, you're going to be like, bro, who is this guy talking? But he just listen. If you're a guy who can connect the dots, but also do some other things, knock the three ball down, there's always going to be a place for you in this league. Unfortunately, there's a lot of organizations that are stuck in the bottom that continue to value length and athleticism over IQ. And they tend to stay in the lottery every year. Pat Spencer said. Now, and if you never watched Pat Spencer is your gritty IQ guy. He's the guy he's going to die for the loose ball. He's not overly athletic. He's going to make the right plays. That type of guy. We all know that type of guy is. Now, obviously for him to say that, it's like, bro, who are you? I get that part. But is there some truth to what he's saying? Are there teams that value length and athleticism and all that other stuff that doesn't really equate to anything in the game over high IQ guys? No, I think there's one team. Now, I want to see if y'all can think or y'all can guess the team that I'm thinking of that is honestly have had this model and they stay in the lottery. That's what he said as well. So we got to keep that in mind. Now, my thought was the Toronto Raptors. That's the first thing I thought when I heard of this. Athleticism and length and no IQ, and they stay in the lottery. Toronto, if you watch the NBA draft, you know every year, when there's that long athletic kid that's got a 7'4" wingspan and can jump out the gym and's got all these measurables, but his questions are, is he going to make the right decisions at the next level? Is his basketball IQ high enough? They're usually going to the Raptors. Let's be honest here. The guys who are really not truly polished yet, but have measurables outside the gym, right? Now, Scotty had a high basketball IQ coming out, so I'm not gonna put Scotty there. But you know they had these type of guys, where it was Siakam coming out, and it was Chris Boucher coming out, and they're going, and again, even Colin Murray-Boyles, who's a very polished player, but you come in and it's like, yeah, the Raptors are always going for that athletic wing that probably doesn't fit, but they're trying something here. And it's like, well, if they surrounded Scotty with less athletes and more guys who can affect the game, right away, and were better shooters and could get to the spot, more Kyle Lowry type of guys, then maybe this would be different. Because when we look at the Raptors, right, and we're looking at R.J. Barrett, talented, doesn't always make the right decisions in big spots. Emmanuel Quickley, talented, highly erratic in big spots, doesn't always know how to compose himself as a starting championship quality point guard. Brandon Ingram. Now, Brandon Ingram can score the basketball, but Brandon Ingram still hasn't really learned how to fit in with a playoff caliber team and play next to another star. That's always my question with Ingram. Can you be the number 2 or number 3 guy and be content and affect the team winning? Don't know yet. Scotty, relatively high on him, but still, there's still this thing where it's like you're an athlete, you've got all the tools. Have you put it together yet? No. And it's like, is that who he's talking about? Is there another team that I went through every team and looked at this, and nothing really matched it up, because if there was a team like that, then they were not in the lottery every year. So I just thought of the Raptors, and I'm like, well, is this how teams are drafting? Is this a trend now? I know it very well used to be, but now there are guys who are coming in who are not the most athletic, who are just high quality IQ point guards that affect the game. So that's very interesting when I see people talk about that, because I'm always curious, like, is that the model that that these GMs still follow? Is it the model that's still going on? And I know that headline was not on the screen, but for people just joining, Pat Spencer from the Warriors, the guard from the Warriors, you're not gonna know who he is. He basically called on NBA organizations on how they construct their teams, preferring athletes and guys with length and size and more measurables, and over guys who can actually affect the game with their IQ and things that you intangibles and things you see on the court. That's basically what we just talked about. Interesting stuff. Might have been the right message, wrong, or no, it might have been the right message, wrong messenger. That's the best way I'm going to put that. Moving on to the final segment, NBA divisions, when we come back. All right, everybody, welcome back. We are going to continue what we did last week with our NBA division outlooks and what I think your team can look forward to with the season starting in a few weeks. Now, last week we did the Pacific Division. Again, if you don't know NBA divisions, I don't blame you, because the NBA does a horrible job of marketing them. Most people don't know what teams are in what divisions. But the Pacific Division with the Lakers, the Clippers, the Suns, the Warriors, the Kings. Now we're going to the Eastern Conference. We're going to the NBA Central Division. And the first team I want to start off with, let's start out with them. Actually. Yeah, let's do them first. We're going to start out with the Detroit Pistons. What is the outlook for them this year? Because the Pistons are interesting, because I think this is the first year where Pistons fans and even NBA fans come in where it's like, yeah, y'all have got real expectations now. It's not like, well, the Pistons could come in and win 38 games and be in the play-in and everyone's happy. No. Y'all made the playoffs. You're on a competitive first-round series. The expectation now is for you to build on that. The expectation is for Cade to now be a top 10 player in the league and improve the turnover issues and make sure he's durable for a full NBA year, which I obviously know he can't control. But there are some real expectations now. With the rest of the team, can Tobias Harris continue on what was a pretty solid year last year and not go back to 2 years ago Tobias Harris in Philadelphia? Can Asar affect the game the way he's already have been, but be more effective on the game, offensively scoring the basketball? We know all the other stuff he can do. We need a jump there, Asar. It can't be in a playoff series. Teams are leaving you as the guy open. You're the guy that I'm putting Jalen Brunson on to get a rest. Or you're the guy I'm putting Hallie or Jaylen Brown on to get a rest on defense. You can't be that guy. You got to be able to take advantage of it. Your brother did. You've got to be able to do it too. Jaden Ivey, I'll be honest, this is the last year that I've got some hope on Jaden Ivey. If Jaden Ivey don't improve the self-awareness offensively, the questionable shot taking, really affecting the game defensively, then I'm out on him. I'll be honest. I was high on him coming out of Purdue. This is the last year I'm out. Everyone else, yeah, Karras is fine. Stewart does his job. Like I said, I don't have much to say about the entire team. I just think Caden needs to take another step. Oh, Jalen Duren. Jalen Duren needs to, first of all, make sure he's on the court to affect the game. Most of the time he's not on the court. Brother, you got to fix the foul trouble issues. What are we doing? Like, Jaren has these issues. Jaren's a lot better than you. You can't be You can't be having the same issues as Jaren, and your offense is not even close. And your defense ain't close either. So fix that. Again, with the Pistons, not really. Like, they were pretty lateral. I mean, they lost Dennis. They lost Tim Hardaway Jr. Again, for them, they should be a top 6 seed, potentially make the second round, win 45-plus games. That's the Pistons. Next up, we're going to get through this one very quickly. I promise you that. Chicago Bulls. I don't know. I don't know what to say about them. I hope they get some development from the young guys. Hopefully Kobe White takes another step. They're going to be bad again. Trade Vooch to a contender, maybe. I think Vooch is the only guy that's all right, some teams could use him on a playoff team right now. The Warriors could use him. Other teams could use him. Besides that, develop your young guys. They're going to be bad. I don't have anything else to say about the Bulls. I'm sorry. I do not. Oh, I do have one thing to say. Their young guys are relatively interesting. Noah Senge. Let's see how that works, and let's just see another step from Montas. All right. Next up, the team that also has got some expectations, and they've got some real expectations. The Cleveland Cavaliers, right? Last year, they seemed unbeatable in the regular season. It seemed like no one could beat them. And once it got to the playoffs, they got tight. They did have injuries. I completely understand they were injured in that latter part of that Pacers series, which could have led to what the inevitable was. But now, without Tatum for the Celtics and Hallie for the Pacers, y'all got some expectations, and y'all need to deliver on them. Because this is the most wide open the Eastern Conference is going to be. Again, and we say this every year, is Darius Garland and Evan Mobley going to take another step? We say it every year. Mobley did, Garland didn't. Now, can Mobley take another step to where it's all right, you're 23-11 and 3 blocks and a top 5 defensive player of the year candidate? That's when you creep into being a top 15 guy. I see Evan Mobley on top 15 list. I don't think he's there yet. He's got to make the jump offensively. I still don't think he impacts the game enough with how big he is, how skilled he is, and the tools that he has. He doesn't impact the game enough yet to be an all-NBA second team type of guy. Donovan Mitchell, don't have much to say about him. Can he just continue to be who he is? Don't have much questions about Donovan Mitchell. Lonzo, my guy, I don't want to give up on him. But they cannot rely on Lonzo consistently. Now, Garland's going to be out essentially into the start of the season, so Lonzo will see some minutes there. But in the role that they have Lonzo, I think Lonzo will be fine. He'll be a 3-and-D guy. He's going to help them defensively. He can play in lineups next to Mitchell and Garland. I think he'll be fine. DeAndre Hunter's fine. Everything else is fine with Cleveland. Now, if Cleveland's not in the Eastern Conference Finals this year, there needs to be some alarms set off. They need to be a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference, because what other 3 teams should be better than them? And they should be in the Eastern Conference Finals at minimum. And if they're not, some changes need to be made. Next up. Now, this is the team that actually beat them last year in the playoffs, the Indiana Pacers. And it's well, the pressure's off, right? There's no Hallie. There's no pressure on them to win. Now, I think Indiana can be one of the more sneakier teams this year, again, and it seems like they're always sneaky. Last year, every playoff series, I thought they were going to lose, and I kept thinking they were going to lose. And if we'll be honest, if Hallie ain't get hurt, I think they probably would have won again. So they would have won every single series where everyone, for the most part, thought they were going to lose. Again, Siakam. No, let's start with the coaching. And we're wrapping up here, but Rick Carlisle, again, has proved he can go to stop and be an effective head coach. Pascal Siakam has proved he can go from team to team and be a winner. Now, the question is everything else, right? You lose Miles Turner, it's not great. It's not great at all. And considering where Indiana was last year, again, they were one of the best offenses in the league. This was, again, they were 9th in offensive rating last year. They were 14th in defensive rating last year. So they were on the top half of the league in both categories. Now, without Hallie, the offense is going to take a hit. I think TJ McConnell can run the offense, but again, he's obviously not Tyrese Halliburton. We get that. He will stabilize them. I don't think he'll make them much worse. But the guy I'm focusing on, those 2 guys I'm focusing on, actually, that need to make a jump for them to surprise people like I'm saying. And that's Andrew Nembhard and that is Ben Mathurin. Those two have to make substantial jumps offensively. And for Mathurin, it's got to be, well, right now he's the guy, he's the kind of six-man kind of guy that can just come in and unleash and score periodically. No. I think he's got to be the starter now. Like, they need him to score 16, 18 a game on good efficiency and not have games, not have a 4 to 5 game stretch where you were unplayable. You can't have that anymore, especially without Hallie. And Nembhard was the perfect complement to Hallie because you didn't need him to really do much, but when Hallie wasn't on the floor, he can take control of the offense and add some scoring. Well, now you're going to have to do that a lot more. I don't think he has the scoring upside that Mathurin has, but he's got to be more like, you've got to be Derek White now, like, where you've got to be 17 a game and elite defense and elite efficiency across the board for you to be competitive. And I think Siakam's going to do what he does. I'm not expecting some huge increase from Siakam's point total, but the Pacers are interesting. I'm very interested to see their jump this year, and if they're very good and they're still a playoff team, it would not surprise me in the slightest. I think this is the final team we've got here. It is. And it is, we didn't talk about the Orlando Magic. We did not. You're absolutely correct. Before we get to the Magic, let's talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. And I've talked about them already. And this is going to be relatively short. But, again, the Bucks have bad guard play. We know this. Their guard play is not great. The talent surrounding Giannis seemingly has not gotten any better. They added Miles Turner. Cool. He's a Brook Lopez replacement, slight upgrade. Is Giannis going to have to put on the Superman cape for the entire year just for them to be the 5th seed and lose in the first round? Probably. It's probably what's going to happen. Is it going to be a cool regular season for people to see? Yeah, it would be. Do I think this is doing anything more than ultimately deciding Giannis' fate that's not going to be in Milwaukee? Yeah. And when I look at this team, it's like, ugh, like what is there to be excited about? Do I think they'll be a playoff team? Yeah. Giannis exists. I think the other guys the role players are fine, but I can't see it. Don't have much to say about the Bucks. Doc is Doc. Doc doesn't uplift young teams. Doc is good with teams that are established and has veterans and has stars. The Bucks are not that. They have a star. And then the last team, I thought I had the Orlando Magic, but I don't. We can talk about the Orlando Magic for a second and off. Now, the Orlando Magic are a team where Jamal Mosley is the favorite for Coach of the Year right now, meaning they expect a jump. They expect the Magic to be one of the contenders this year, and this is the year to do it, like I've mentioned. Now, can Paulo take another leap in terms of his efficiency, and not just in the playoffs, where he's been way better, but just consistently throughout the regular season, to where he's a top 15 guy? He needs to make that jump. Without Tatum now and not Hallie, you need to be in that conversation. Can Franz continue on the season he had last year? Is Desmond Bane and Tyus Jones shooting going to be enough to help Orlando when they get challenged as a group offensively? There's a lot of times where that happens, where it's like they don't really have a guy. Like, I mean, you got Paul and Franz in there. They can create with the ball, but they're not primary ball handlers. Desmond Bane really ain't a primary ball handler either, but I think when you have the shooting, it will help because we know Paul and Franz are going to have the ball in their hands. Do we see another leap from Anthony Black and some of their other guys? That's cool to watch. I don't know how much they're going to impact this team when it really comes down to it. But the Magic should be better. I expect them to be one of the 5 best teams in the Eastern Conference and be in the first or second round of the playoffs next year. That's my division preview. Thank you guys for listening to Zanos Ball Radio. Again, we maybe went a little bit over time, but I had to yap about LeBron, so that probably extended some things. Well, we only got a few more weeks and the NBA season comes back. And when the NBA season comes back, we'll be hearing some live, right after these games happen. Because in 2 weeks, that will be one day before the NBA season will officially start. So that will be a very interesting episode. But I hope you guys enjoyed. And tap in next week. Monday, 7 p.m. It's Animals Ball Radio. Thank you guys for listening.